When I found out I was going to be a parent, I immediately felt a lot of anxiety and worry. So I went on to BetterHelp to try to look for a therapist to help me with that.
My relationship with my family and with my boyfriend and with myself were suffering. I really needed help.
I was ruminating a lot. Really getting those thoughts out to a therapist and getting feedback was just life-changing.
Discover what BetterHelp Online Therapy can do for you. Visit BetterHelp.com today.
To enjoy this episode ad-free, please visit patreon.com/forensictales.
Forensic Tales discusses topics that some listeners may find disturbing. The contents of this episode may not be suitable for everyone. Listener discretion is advised.
We've all done it, gone out with our friends on a weekend in college, hopping between bars, laughing too loud, staying out later than we probably should. It's the kind of night that feels harmless. The kind of night that ends with everyone stumbling home and waking up the next morning with a headache and a few blurry memories. But on June 3rd, 2011, that's not how the night ended for 20-year-old Lauren Spierer. Police would later piece together her final hours using surveillance cameras, witness statements, and digital timelines. Investigators know where she went, who she was with, and almost every step she took that night. Yet somehow, Lauren vanished without a trace. This is Forensic Tales, episode 331, The Disappearance of Lauren Spierer. Welcome to Forensic Tales. I'm your host, Courtney Fretwell. Forensic Tales is a weekly true crime podcast with a forensic twist. Each episode features real stories highlighting how forensic science was used to uncover the truth. If you enjoy deep dives into real cases and the science behind them, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. And if you want even more content, including monthly full-length bonus episodes and early ad-free access to over 300 episodes, you can join our community over on Patreon. The support there truly helps keep this show going. To learn more, visit patreon.com/forensictales. And one small favor that makes a huge difference for the show. If you're enjoying Forensic Tales, please consider leaving a positive review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really helps other listeners discover the podcast. Lauren Elizabeth Spierer was born on January 17, 1991, and grew up in Scarsdale, New York, an affluent suburb just north of New York City. She lived there with her parents, Charlene and Robert, and her older sister, Rebecca. They were incredibly well known in their community and very active in their local synagogue. Lauren attended Edgemont High School in nearby Westchester County, where others really took notice of her bright and friendly personality. She just had a way about her that drew people to her. She was outgoing, social, and full of energy. She also loved being around friends and had a natural ability to make people feel comfortable and included. Growing up, Lauren spent most of her summers at Camp Towanda, a sleepaway camp in Pennsylvania. It was there that she met a lot of people and formed friendships that would follow her into college. It's also where she met some of the people who were with her the night she disappeared. After graduating high school in 2009, Lauren decided to attend Indiana University in Bloomington, nearly 800 miles away from home. It was supposed to be a really exciting time in her life. She got to live on her own for the very first time and start to figure out who she wanted to be in life. She enrolled in the school's textiles merchandising program, which allowed her to combine the two things she was most interested in, fashion and business. While at college, Lauren continued to stay connected to her Jewish roots, which was really important to her. She did things like participating in campus Jewish life through IU Hillel, and even spent one spring break traveling to Israel, where she volunteered to plant trees through a Jewish National Fund program. By the summer of 2011, Lauren had just completed her sophomore year and was living in an apartment complex called Smallwood Plaza, located just blocks from the Indiana University campus. The first 2 years of college had gone really well. She was doing well in her courses. She had a lot of friends. She was adjusting to life outside the immediate realm of her parents and older sister. Life was just going really, really well for her, and she had an even brighter future ahead of her. And like many college students finishing up another year of school, Lauren was enjoying the freedom and excitement of campus life, spending time with friends, going out on weekends, and making the kinds of memories that are supposed to last a lifetime. But on the night of June 2nd, 2011, that normal college routine would take a turn. That night, Lauren did something many of us her age do. She made plans to go out with friends, drink, and bar hop into the early morning hours. She was wearing a white tank top layered under a white blouse, paired with black pants, a pretty typical outfit for a summer night out in a college town. Just before midnight, Lauren left her apartment building, Smallwood Plaza, to meet up with friends. Walking with her was another Indiana University student who also lived in the building, David Rohn. The two made their way to the 5 North Townhomes, an apartment complex just a few blocks away from Smallwood Plaza, where several of their friends were hanging out that night. They were Jay Rosenbaum and his neighbor, Corey Rossman. Lauren had met Jay at that summer camp a few years back, and he also attended IU. But Corey was a new acquaintance. She had just met him that night or the night before. I found conflicting reports on when exactly they met, but let's just say they were relatively new friends. By about 12:30 in the morning on June 3rd, David returned back to his apartment at the Smallwood Plaza, where he stayed until 11 o'clock that morning. This would later be confirmed by surveillance footage. He was also given a polygraph test by the FBI that showed no deception. Here's just a quick side note before moving on. In many criminal investigations, detectives rely on physical evidence, fingerprints, or blood at a crime scene to reconstruct what happened. But in Lauren's case, there was no clear crime scene, no obvious forensic trail. Instead, investigators would have to rely on something else. Surveillance cameras scattered throughout downtown Bloomington, cameras mounted outside apartment buildings, businesses, and bars would ultimately become the most important pieces of evidence in the investigation. And by reviewing hours of footage, detectives were able to trace Lauren's movements throughout the night, almost minute by minute. It was this digital trail that helped investigators piece together Lauren's final known hours. At 1:46 in the morning, Lauren and Corey walked a few blocks southeast through downtown Bloomington until they reached one of the most popular college bars in the area, Kilroy's Sports Bar. Known locally simply as Sports, the bar sits at the corner of 8th and Walnut Streets and is a frequent hangout for Indiana University students. The venue has 2 levels, multiple bars, loud music, and a large outdoor patio that's often packed on weekend nights. According to the official Bloomington police timeline, Lauren entered the bar shortly after arriving downtown. And like many underage college students, she used a fake ID to get inside. At 2:27, Lauren is seen on the bar's security camera leaving with Corey Rossman by her side. But there are a few things you should know. Number 1, Lauren doesn't have her cell phone with her. She left it somewhere inside the bar. And number 2, she's barefoot. Like her phone, she also left her shoes inside Kilroy's. The reason why she might not have her shoes is that the bar had a sandy beach area. So most people think she probably just took her shoes off to go in the sand and forgot about them. She's 20 years old and has been drinking for the last several hours, so it's not entirely unheard of for someone to forget their phone and shoes somewhere. I've probably done the same exact thing at some point in my life. After leaving Kilroy's, Lauren and Corey arrived back at the Smallwood Plaza apartments, where Lauren lived at 2:30. It only took them about 3 minutes to get there because it was only 2 blocks away. Together, Lauren and Corey took the elevator up to the 5th floor where Lauren's unit was. But before they could get inside, Corey and a few other male IU students got into an altercation that led to one of the guys punching Corey in the face. There are a lot of conflicting reports out there about this, but the most credible ones say that the fight started after one of the students thought Lauren seemed very intoxicated. So my guess is that these 4 IU students and Lauren's neighbor thought maybe Corey was trying to take advantage of her, so they got into a fight. It's not entirely clear what caused it, and later on, Corey would tell the police that he couldn't remember what happened because he was also intoxicated. His attorney would also later say that he might have gotten a concussion from the punch, and that's why he can't remember much. 12 minutes after arriving, Lauren was seen leaving her apartment again at 2:48, but she wasn't alone. She was still with Corey. The two made their way through an alley that runs between College Avenue and Morton Street, a narrow passage commonly used by students walking between the nearby apartment buildings. Security cameras mounted on surrounding buildings recorded them exiting the alley at 2:51 a.m., walking toward an empty lot near the 5 Northtown homes. This is an important moment for the story because that's the last time Lauren Spierer was ever captured on surveillance video. But investigators would later find her purse and keys along this same route through the alley, suggesting they had been dropped somewhere along the way. In my opinion, that's an important piece to this puzzle. I want to know whether Lauren's purse and keys were accidentally dropped or dropped during a struggle. It's also possible that someone returned to the alley to place them there. Unfortunately, we don't have the answers to any of those questions. Based on my research, no useful DNA or fingerprint evidence was collected from either her purse or keys. Shortly afterward, Lauren and Corey arrived at Corey's apartment at the 5 Northtown homes, where his roommate, Mike Beth, was home studying. According to Mike Beth, both Lauren and Corey appeared extremely intoxicated when they got there. Corey was reportedly stumbling badly and even vomited on the carpet while heading upstairs. Mike would later say that he helped Corey get to bed, then tried to talk Lauren into staying the night there. But according to him, Lauren refused. She told him she wanted to go back to her own apartment at Smallwood Plaza. At some point, Mike said he called his neighbor, Jay Rosenbaum, to see if he could come help with Lauren. He was her friend who went to that same summer camp when they were younger. Lauren eventually went to Jay's apartment, where she used his phone to call her neighbor, David, the guy who she had started the night with. Jay also said he placed another call in an attempt to find someone who could give her a ride home, but no one answered and no messages were left. Now, here's a detail worth mentioning. According to Jay, Lauren had a bruise underneath one of her eyes when he saw her. It may not be related to her disappearance, but I think it's worth mentioning. At around 4:30 in the morning, Jay said Lauren left the apartment. According to him, the last time he saw her, Lauren was standing near the intersection of 11th Street and College Avenue, heading south toward her apartment. But I want you to picture this for a second. Lauren was clearly intoxicated. She was barefoot. She didn't have her cell phone. She was still wearing the same black leggings and white shirt she had been wearing earlier that night. If you're like me, you want to know why Jay let Lauren leave his apartment like that. Even though it was a short walk back to her own apartment, why would he let her leave? Why wouldn't he walk with her back to her apartment to make sure she made it home safely? I think that's something a lot of people have a problem with when they hear this story. These are questions that deserve answers because after that moment, Lauren was gone. She disappeared. Before we talk about what happened later that day, there are two other important timestamps. The first reportedly happened at 3:38 in the morning. According to a bar manager working nearby, he claimed to have witnessed something unusual near the intersection of 10th Street and College Avenue. The man told investigators that he saw what appeared to be a very intoxicated woman matching Lauren Spieer's description, being carried over a man's shoulder by someone he did not recognize. Over time, this individual became known in media reports as the Mystery Man. The account was first reported by a blogger who closely followed the case, and it was later picked up by several news outlets. And the police looked into the claim but couldn't find any surveillance footage to corroborate it. Private investigator John Cutter, who was hired by Lauren's parents, later interviewed the same witness. John Cutter said he believed the woman the bar manager described may very well have been Lauren, but he also said that he couldn't confirm whether the exact time of the sighting was accurate. So because of that, no one's been able to definitively place Lauren at that particular location at 3:38. And then there's the second reported timestamp. This one comes from 4:35 in the morning. According to reports that surfaced shortly after Lauren disappeared, a homeless man told people he had heard a woman scream somewhere west of the area where Lauren had last been seen. The claim began circulating around Bloomington in the days following her disappearance, eventually drawing the attention of reporters from the Bloomington Herald-Times, who attempted to track down the tip. But it's unclear whether investigators were ever able to confirm the report or identify the exact circumstances surrounding it. Some speculation centered around a well-known Bloomington transient named Franklin Road Dog Crawford, who was believed by some to be the man who heard the scream. However, Crawford died just a few days after Lauren vanished, and the information was never definitively verified. So while the report of a scream has remained part of the conversation surrounding Lauren's disappearance, no one has determined whether it was connected to her case at all. These timestamps are just two more digital forensic breadcrumbs to add to the pile. Between diets, workouts, and endless advice, it's hard to know what actually works for weight loss and what's worth your time. Enter Weight Loss by Hers. It's designed to support you in reaching your goals. And Hers now offers access to an affordable range of FDA-approved GLP-1 medications, including the Wegovy pill and the Wegovy pen. Everything is 100% online through Hers. You'll connect with a licensed provider who will determine if treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication is delivered right to your door. No insurance necessary. Ready to reach your goals? Visit forhers.com/tales to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That's forhers.com/tales. forhers.com/tales. Weight Loss by Hers is not available in all 50 states. Wegovy is the registered trademark of Novo Nordisk AS. To get started and learn more, including important safety information, Wegovy clinical study information, and restrictions, visit forhers.com. Later that morning, Lauren's boyfriend, Jesse Wolfe, whom she had met at that same summer camp as Jay Rosenbaum, tried calling and texting her cell phone but got no response from her. Eventually, one of the employees at the bar where Lauren had forgotten her phone called Jesse back and said her phone was there. Concerned that something might have happened to her, Jesse contacted Lauren's roommate, Hadar Tamir, and asked to meet up with her on campus to get a key to their place so he could go check on her. He then went to the apartment, but Lauren was nowhere to be found. Later on, when Jesse was interviewed by the police, he said he spent the night at home and went to bed at around 2:30. By 4:30 in the afternoon on June 3rd, Lauren was officially reported missing to the Bloomington Police Department by a few of her friends. Lauren's parents were also notified about the situation, who immediately began calling local hospitals to see if anyone there matched Lauren's description. There was no sign of her there either. On June 4th, Lauren's parents arrived in Bloomington, where they would stay for the next 2 full months searching for their daughter. Between then and August, very little happened in the case, except for the police announcing that they had a person of interest but wouldn't reveal who it was, and that they were looking for the driver of a white pickup truck seen driving around in the area that night. The police also announced very early on that there were rumors that Lauren had possibly overdosed on drugs, and other IU students may have gotten rid of her body to try to cover up any involvement they might have had in the overdose. This theory gained even more traction after Jay reportedly told detectives that on top of consuming alcohol, Lauren also snorted cocaine and took a few Klonopin pills. And after searching her room inside her apartment, they found what they described as a small amount of cocaine. Another reason this has become a popular theory is that Lauren had a diagnosed and rare heart condition called long QT syndrome, which affects the heart's electrical activity after a heartbeat. So if Lauren was drinking and taking drugs at the same time that night, it's feasible to assume that it could have interfered with her heart condition. It wasn't until August 16th, over 2 months after Lauren's disappearance, that there was major movement in the case. That day, the police and FBI began searching the Sycamore Ridge landfill near Terre Haute, where Bloomington's trash was delivered. They had received a tip that Lauren's remains might be found there. But after sifting through more than 4,000 tons of garbage across 9 days, they found absolutely nothing. But I don't think that should come as too much of a surprise. Landfill searches are notoriously difficult and usually unsuccessful. That's because most forensic evidence becomes mixed with massive volumes of waste. So you're essentially searching for a needle in a haystack. On January 12th, 2012, Lauren's family celebrated what should have been her 21st birthday. But there were still no closer to finding out what happened to her or who took her. And that's how things would remain for the next several years. By May of 2013, the investigation into Lauren's disappearance had generated over 3,000 tips, and the reward money for any information was up to $250,000. There had also been 5 skeletal remains throughout Indiana and other surrounding states that were thought to belong to Lauren, but none of them did. Fast forward another 2 years. In April of 2025, the Bloomington Police Department made another announcement. This time, it was to say that they believed Lauren's case might be connected to another, the disappearance and murder of another IU student named Hannah Wilson. Hannah went missing on April 24th, 2015, after visiting Kilroy's sports bar, the same place where Lauren lost her shoes and cell phone the night she disappeared. That night, she was last seen getting into a taxi outside the bar and driving away. The next morning, her body was discovered in nearby Brown County. Police eventually arrested a local man named Daniel Massell for the murder after investigators found his cell phone near Hannah's body, which ultimately linked him to the crime. Because the case happened in the same area where Lauren disappeared, many people initially wondered whether the 2 cases might be connected. But in July of 2015, investigators announced that the crimes weren't related and that any similarities between the 2 cases were purely coincidental. That announcement was a bit of a letdown because it gave everyone a little bit of hope. Instead, it turned out to be a dead end. When the start of 2016 came around, investigators were out again searching a specific area after receiving a tip. It was a property in the 2,900 block of Old Morgantown Road in Martinsville, a place about 20 miles north of Bloomington. The property belonged to a man named Justin Wagers, who lived there with his mother and stepfather. Wagers had previously drawn the attention of police after being accused of exposing himself to several women in the Bloomington area. So during the search of his property, cadaver dogs were used, which alerted to a possible scent of human remains on the property. That led forensic anthropologists to conduct a dig, carefully sifting through dirt inside a barn where the dogs had indicated potential evidence. But despite the extensive search, nothing connected to Lauren was ever found. Investigators also removed a white truck belonging to Wagers from the property to examine it more closely as part of the investigation. At first, that seemed like a promising clue because of the white truck that was seen circling the neighborhood the night she went missing. But nothing came of that either, and Justin Wagers was never arrested or charged. Lauren's mysterious, sudden disappearance and the lack of answers have taken a major toll on her family, especially her parents. And in the years that followed, they filed several civil lawsuits against 3 of the men who had been with her that night: Corey Rossman, Jay Rosenbaum, and Mike Beth. Although none of them have ever been charged criminally, that didn't shield them from civil lawsuits. The lawsuits accused them of negligence, claiming they continued to supply Lauren with alcohol even though she was already visibly intoxicated, and then failed to ensure she returned safely to her apartment. Lauren's family said they hoped the legal action might lead to someone finally revealing more about what happened that night. But the lawsuits were ultimately dismissed by a federal judge who ruled that there wasn't enough evidence to prove the men were legally responsible for Lauren's disappearance. And through their attorneys, the 3 men have always maintained their innocence and say they have no idea what happened to her that night. So if they don't know what happened, then who does? The most popular theory is one we've already mentioned. This was an accidental overdose that turned into a cover-up. There's a lot of evidence suggesting that she was very intoxicated that night. Witnesses said she had been drinking heavily and had also fallen and hit her head earlier in the evening. So some people wonder if she could have suffered from either alcohol poisoning, a drug overdose, or complications from a head injury or her heart condition. According to this theory, Lauren may have collapsed or died accidentally while in someone's apartment, and the people who were with her panicked. Instead of calling to get help, they got rid of her body somehow. They might have panicked because Lauren was underage, and there may have been other drugs involved. Supporters of this theory believe someone may have disposed of her body to avoid criminal charges. And one reason this theory is so popular is that Lauren was last seen with people she knew. But there are obvious problems with this theory. Number 1, everyone who was with Lauren that night denies that's what happened. And number 2, there's no forensic evidence supporting this theory. Without Lauren's body, we don't have any toxicology reports, so it's impossible to say how much alcohol she had in her system and if there were any drugs present. We just don't know what substances may have played a role in what happened to her. Simply put, without a body, many key forensic questions, such as cause of death, drug involvement, and injuries, may never be answered. But here's something else about the forensic evidence. Lauren reportedly had a bruise underneath one of her eyes. And earlier that night, surveillance footage shows her falling and hitting her head on the sidewalk outside the bar. So a head injury combined with alcohol or drugs could definitely lead to something far more serious. But here's the reality. That's almost impossible to prove at this point. Medical conditions or intoxication almost always complicate investigations when someone disappears without witnesses. The second most popular theory seems to be that Lauren became the victim of foul play by someone she knew. That person was likely one of the 3 men she was with that night. But like I've mentioned a few times, none of them have ever been arrested or charged. However, it's worth mentioning that although Lauren's parents haven't publicly named anyone as suspects in their daughter's disappearance, they have always said they believe these guys know more about what happened that night than they've admitted to. But perhaps the biggest problem with this theory is the lack of a crime scene. We don't have Lauren's body, there's no blood evidence, no murder weapon, and no confirmed location of where a crime may have taken place. So, from a forensic evidence standpoint, the authorities have virtually nothing to work with. And that makes a case like this incredibly difficult to solve. Without a crime scene, we have to rely on witness statements, which are notoriously problematic, and circumstantial evidence, which can also be a problem. Even after all of these years, there just isn't any forensic evidence suggesting Lauren became a victim of foul play by someone she knew. Finally, there's the theory that Lauren encountered a stranger after leaving the apartment alone. According to the last confirmed sighting, Lauren was barefoot, heavily intoxicated, and walking alone in the early morning hours. So she would have been extremely vulnerable. That's led some people to believe she may have been abducted or assaulted by someone passing through the area. It was just a crime of opportunity. This theory actually ties back to the mystery man we talked about earlier. That's the witness who reported seeing a man carrying a woman over his shoulder near downtown Bloomington in the early morning hours. The woman was described as extremely intoxicated and matching Lauren's description. But there are a lot of unchecked boxes with this theory as well. We don't have any surveillance footage of an abduction, which is odd considering almost Lauren's entire night was captured on camera. We don't have any witnesses who saw her being forced into a vehicle. We also just don't have any physical evidence supporting that's what happened. It's really unfortunate that Lauren left her cell phone behind at that bar, because if she had it with her, the police might have been able to trace it to see where she went. And that ties back to something I just talked about: the lack of forensic evidence in this case. There is simply no crime scene. No DNA evidence tied to a crime. No confirmed witness to what happened after she walked away. Despite having a detailed timeline built from surveillance footage, the most critical moment, the moment Lauren vanished, remains a total and complete mystery. At the time I'm sitting down to record this episode, Lauren Spierer has been missing for 14 years and 10 months. That's an incredibly long and painful wait for her family to receive answers. And throughout this entire time, they have never given up hope or stopped looking for her. As of May 2026, Lauren remains missing, and there has been little progress in her case over the past several years. There's never been a single arrest. Detectives were able to reconstruct much of her final night, bar by bar, apartment by apartment, camera by camera. In many ways, investigators know more about Lauren's last hours than they do in most missing person cases. And yet, the one moment that matters most is still missing. Somewhere in the early morning hours of June 3rd, 2011, just blocks from her own apartment, the trail goes cold. There is no confirmed crime scene, no physical evidence pointing to what happened next, and no clear explanation for how a 20-year-old college student could seemingly vanish from the middle of a busy college town. For Lauren's family, the uncertainty has been the hardest part, not knowing whether she's alive or gone, not knowing who might be responsible, and not knowing what truly happened during those final moments of her life. More than a decade later, investigators still believe that someone out there knows the truth. And until that truth comes to light, the disappearance of Lauren Spierer remains one of the most haunting mysteries in Indiana University's history. What do you think happened to Lauren, and do you think this case will ever be solved? To share your thoughts on this week's episode, be sure to follow the show on social media. And if you want even more content, including monthly bonus episodes, be sure to sign up for the show's Patreon page. To learn more, visit patreon.com/forensic tales. If you'd like to stay up to date on the latest from Lauren's family, they have a Facebook page that provides regular updates. To learn more, visit Facebook and search for the official Lauren Spierer updates from her family page. Forensic Tales is a Rockefeller Audio Production. The show is written and produced by me, Courtney Fretwell. If you'd like to support the show and help fund research, production, and editing, you can do so with a small monthly contribution on Patreon. Patreon supporters get early access to ad-free episodes and exclusive bonus content. Thank you so much to this week's newest supporter, David N. You can learn more at patreon.com/forensic tales. And if you enjoy the show, leaving a positive rating or review really helps others discover it. For a full list of sources used in this episode, visit forensictales.com. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week. Until then, remember, not all stories have happy endings.